Hello, Crystal Palace. Welcome to the Upper Norwood Library Hub's Library Lunch. This is a place to share positive and useful local information, find out about our community in more depth, and just try and keep us all entertained and connected during this very strange time. So I'm delighted to welcome my guest today, who is West End singer and actress Cassie Compton. Thanks so much for joining me, Cassie. Tell us a bit about you and your background.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
Oh gosh, my background. So I'm a musical theatre and TV actress and singer. I started when I was 11, so been going a while. My mum's a singer, so it's always been in my family. And yeah, touch wood, I kind of kept going from the age of 11.
Amazing.
Strange, wonderful, bonkers journey that it is.
Tell us about some of the things you've done.
So when I was 11, I was in Whistle Down the Wind in the West End.
Wow.
And that was kind of when I realised that it definitely was something I wanted to do and nobody could tell me any differently. And so I worked a little bit as a child and trained. And then when I was 16, I was on the first ever series of The X Factor.
Wow. And I was 16.
At 60, I was 16 when I auditioned, 17 when we started the live shows.
That's brave.
And I came 5th and was the last female in my category.
Wow.
And it feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah. That's an incredibly brave thing to do as a teenager.
Yeah.
I don't know, terrifying.
Do you know, funny thing is, now that I look back and I think, oh, how on earth did I do that at 16? But then you don't have bills to pay.
Mm-hmm.
You're just kind of starting out. So I think I was far more fearless then than I am now, because I sort of had nothing to lose. I think if somebody said, oh, here, go and do that now, I'd be like, absolutely no way am I putting myself out there for that kind of fear and criticism. But sometimes you chuck yourself in when you're younger, don't you?
Yeah. I suppose you don't have the fear of failure sometimes as well, or maybe the understanding of how far you've got to go to get where you want, maybe. So you don't have that sense of fear of getting it wrong, maybe.
Or even I think at that age, sometimes not necessarily knowing if you are wrong. It doesn't matter. You just do it, and so I mean, it was wonderful. I always joke, I'm always like, I can't really remember it.
Mm-hmm.
I can it was like someone else took over my body, had this really strange, mad experience, and now I just sort of have vague memories of how it felt.
I suppose having already been kind of working professionally and being on a West End stage and stuff, actually, X Factor was probably not as scary for you as maybe for some people it would be. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I just had to take it as another audition, and that's how I approached it, and that kind of seemed to work for me, I guess. I mean, you never know. It would be different now, I guess, because I know the process. It was the first season, so we were kind of the guinea pigs almost. Nobody knew how we had Pop Idol and Pop Stars, but this was slightly different, and we didn't really know how we'd be received. And now,
so it was a trial for them really as well as for you, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it's now 16, 17 years later and still going. But I mean, I can't say I watch it anymore, because usually I'm working on a Saturday night. So yeah.
Do you remember what you sang, just out of interest?
I sang, yeah, I do actually. My very first audition, when we had to go and sing a cappella. So this is before microphones bringing backing tracks. It was literally just walk in, 30 seconds, sing a cappella. And I had prepared Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And I walked in. And Simon Cowell asked me what I was going to sing. And I still to this day couldn't tell you why. I went, His Eye is on the Sparrow from Sister Act. And then realised as I started singing that I didn't know the whole song. So thankfully they stopped me.
Wow. What on earth? What on earth possessed you to just change it at the last minute?
Honestly, to this day, I have no idea. It was just in my head, and I said it, and then it just came out. And my mum was like, "What did you do that for?" And I was like, "I don't know."
It obviously worked for you.
Yeah, yeah. It was, yeah, I have no idea. And then live shows, I sung Alfie by Burt Bacharach, and How David, one of my favourite composers. And a few Mariah Carey tunes, I think, were thrown in there back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow. Look how far you've come since then.
Listen, at least it stood me in good stead when it comes to having a thick skin.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess having that at sort of that age is really a bit of make or break from the odd bits you see of judges and stuff and their comments and how harsh they can be. I guess it really is make or break.
Yeah.
Amazing. So since then, what would have been your favorite shows or biggest achievements, as you prefer?
Whenever I get asked this question, I find it really difficult, and that sounds really cliche, but it is because there's different merits to some of the things that I've done. So people would assume, I mean, being in shows like Wicked, incredible. It's, you know, stunning production. It's such a well-known and well-loved show, as is Les Miserables, and they have their own merits, but some of the not quite as huge commercial shows that I've been in and work that I've done, it brings a joy in a different way. American Psycho at the Almeida is probably one of my favourites still, because we were creating that piece and it was an original cast, and that's really exciting and terrifying. Yeah, it's really hard to say, because they each kind of bring a different element. When you have a long running show, and you know that you're guaranteed to have an audience, and an audience that know what they're getting and are going to enjoy it, and a wonderful response, but you haven't necessarily created this part, and it's still a formula to a certain extent that obviously works, so it has to be followed. Whereas when you're creating something, you're working as a team and with a team, and being able to work with writers and composers from scratch, and be able to say to them, so how do you want this?
Yeah.
And hearing it from the horse's mouth and going, okay, brilliant, great, we can create that together. That's a whole other ball game as well, which is great.
Much more creative input for you, isn't it, in that situation?
Yeah. Scary though if people don't like what the choices that you've made.
As you said, different merits.
Yeah.
different advantages and disadvantages. Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure you've been asked this a lot, but the last few months haven't been great, have they, for artists?
No, they really haven't, and I could very much get on my soapbox about it, but I don't want to, because I think we all know where we're at. We all know that the industry needs help, and we are all trying to do our bit, but I feel like we need to try and be positive and look at how we're going to move forward. If this is going to be our way of life for a bit, how can we adapt while still fighting for the fact that we need help and support, and that we are viable, and it's a wonderful industry that has created huge revenue. That we know all of that, but just for me personally, I've had to also try and take some positives, because otherwise it's no good, and we're just perpetuating and going around with this. We're so angry, and yes, we're angry, but how do we now move forward?
Well, we can it's absolutely possible to do both at once, isn't it? And to keep fighting for support for the industry, but also artists, by the very nature of the job that we all do, we are flexible and we are adaptable. And as you say, we have to adapt to what now is, because it might be like this for a while. So, but I believe you can absolutely do both at once. But I'm very much with you on the finding the positives. So tell us what you've been doing. What have been your positives?
My positives. I was discussing this earlier with you. So I've moved house, and I've done some things that perhaps when you're working you don't necessarily get to take stock of, which has been nice, and organising my life as best I can, and not having the excuse of I've got to go to work, or I can't. So that's been helpful in the long run. I was looking at this, starting a diploma in psychology and CBT, which I'm making my way through, and I've just recently in the last month started teaching at Bodywork in Cambridge, and brilliant performing arts college, and that's been great, and it's been really helpful for me when I feel like, oh, I'm despairing slightly, to then walk into a really positive environment with all these incredibly talented students and remember, oh yeah, this is what we do. This is it. Yes, great. So lockdown's been, this whole COVID thing's been very up and down for me. I've tried to take the positives, but I miss performing. I miss singing. Because that's what I do. It's what I've always done. So it's the same as, as well as, making a living from it. I just happen to be able to do something that I love, and that has been my job for 17 years. So when that's taken away, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. You have been doing a little bit, I think, though, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been doing a little bit. I've been with you guys at the library. Just before we went into the official lockdown, we had a concert which was amazing, wonderful Daniel Stockton and Ed Brewer, and then we did a virtual Finding Wonderland virtual Disney online concert, was about a month or so ago, which was super fun. I do believe I was on a virtual flying carpet at one point.
Amazing.
Who doesn't want to do that at 33? I want to fulfill my childhood dreams.
Did you get to see? I guess you couldn't see the flying carpet at the time. Have you managed to watch it back and actually?
No, I could on the monitor.
Could you? Yeah, amazing.
And I was just really enjoying it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
No shame. I loved it.
It's been quite emotional, I found, being back in the library for those concerts, because I was at the one that you did just literally before lockdown. And so going back for some of the following ones, because my choir did a virtual choir piece that was in the one before Finding Wonderland. And it was a lot of the same people in the room who'd been there just before lockdown. And it was really emotional, actually. I don't know if you found the same thing when you did. I mean, I think Finding Wonderland was a bit different because you had the green screen and all the effects. So it was a slightly different feel to it. But
I just loved seeing everybody for a start at a distance, of course, and listening to these wonderful people that I know sing, and they're incredible. And it had been months since I've been sat in a room listening to people perform. That was quite emotional. Yeah.
How did you find it with, I can't remember with the Finding Wonderland one, whether there was a small audience or whether it was just the performers, but how did you find it? Yeah, how was that?
It was just us. We were all, I think, so happy to be there, being creative and seeing each other, that we were making our own little audience. There's lots of whooping. It's strange. It is strange. But it's something I think that I've been talking about this recently. If the industry is going to change slightly, we do have technology. So it's something to get used to, I think. Working virtually and performing to people at home via like Zoom and things like that, and virtual concerts, which is not the same. It never will be the same. It isn't. But at least we can still do it, and people can still enjoy performances.
And it also means that your audience is not limited to the immediate area as well. So I'm sure it's spread all around the world, especially since, Daniel's from America and everything. I'm sure it's literally been watched by people all over the world, which is quite cool. It's different, but it's cool, I think. Yeah. Just going back, you mentioned about Bodywork in, was it Cambridge?
Cambridge.
I'm intrigued. It's quite an interesting name for a drama school. Can you tell us a bit about it?
So it's a performing arts college, and Bodywork was founded by Teresa Kerr, who was wonderful. That's our amazing principal. And they've been going for quite some time now. I mean, I've worked with quite a few ex-Bodywork students. So Richard did Les Miserables with Richard Woodford, and worked with Ryan Lee Seeger on The Wedding Singer, and he's our associate choreographer and sound and resident director. So they have a real history of fantastic students who have gone on to do so much work. So it's a real pleasure to be there. And I'm up there teaching acting. They're great all-rounders. The grads have come back. We were talking about this earlier. The grads have come back because, like a lot of schools, they didn't get to graduate as they should have done. And for those people who don't know how it works, not only is it graduating, but it showcases for agents and casting directors to be able to see you when you've spent 3 years working incredibly hard in all aspects of the industry and all disciplines, to combine that work to then showcase yourselves for people in the industry to see, so agents, casting directors. And I know that a lot of places haven't been able to put that in place. So we're really fortunate that our grads are back, which is amazing. And we're just going to keep working on what they've been doing, and then hopefully looking once we know what's happening, being able to allow them to have that moment, which is really important. It's what they've worked for.
It is the culmination, isn't it, of their 3 years of work, and it's also an amazing opportunity to have a huge number of agents and industry professionals in the room to watch you, that you haven't had to go out on your own and kind of slog to get to come to your show, or to get to actually have a meeting with you and stuff. It's an incredible opportunity, because I know my brothers are actors, and I know that it's really hard, sort of beyond that point. Sort of getting people to see you takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it really does. And I think as well that is the payoff, and that should be the payoff. That's what you're working towards. That's the next, if you take it in stages, as I sort of try to, you go through and you train, and then that's the last step before you leave. And that also prepares them for auditions and meeting creative teams. That's to have that experience of like, right, okay, I've got people in that I want to make sure that I show them my best work and all my ability before they go out and start auditioning for things. So I'm really hoping that that's for all graduates, everywhere, that's something that can be sorted, because they deserve it. Work really hard.
Yeah. How have you found it being back in the room with them?
I love it. It's been honestly, they've been so welcoming, and they've worked so hard. And considering the fact that, and particularly, I mean, I'm not a dancer, but to physically be out of that sort of intense training for quite a lengthy period of time, to just throw yourselves back into that mentally and physically is incredibly hard work. I've been just so blown away at how passionate they are and talented they are, and the fact that they want to come back and just get straight back into it, because it just shows that on top of being so highly skilled, you also have to be really resilient. And it takes real strength of character to go, okay, it's quite uncertain at the moment, but I'm not going to stop working on what I've just spent however long it's been working on, and just throwing yourself back into it. I'm very, very impressed. And it's lovely for me to see, and it reminds me of why I do what I do.
Yeah, gorgeous. What if you had to give those grad students 3 pieces of advice, what would you say?
3 pieces of advice.
Well, it doesn't have to be 3.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing. If they were here, they'd be like, oh, she goes on and on and on. 3 pieces. 3 pieces of advice. I think, oh gosh, it really is. Firstly, first and foremost, do your homework. Do your preparation. because as much as you have within this industry being right for something, right time, right place, a little bit of luck, you have to know that you've walked into a room and done the best that you can do.
Don't copy your X Factor experience then.
Don't copy. And listen, half of the things that I say to them are, guys, listen, I once did this. Don't do it. And I think as well, being true to yourself, asking the advice from the right people, and knowing the difference between what's good advice and what's coming from a good place, and what perhaps isn't. And my biggest lesson that I've learned, that I talked to them about, is that yes, it is a competitive industry, but that doesn't mean that the other person that's up for the same job as you that's your competition, so you should focus all your energy on them. You can't control what somebody else does in an audition room. You have no control over that. You can only control what you do. You have no control over what the decision is, as long as you've done your best. So rather than focusing your energy on perhaps other people that you see as your competition, wish them well, and just focus that energy on yourself.
Because actually, if you are true to yourself in an audition, I guess there's always the chance that people remember you for another part later on. Isn't there?
Yeah, definitely been for jobs and been up for one role and then up for another one and got that one instead.
Cool, brilliant. Anything else you'd want to say?
I don't know how much time we've got.
Another 3 minutes.
In terms of speaking to the students about life, things seem difficult at the moment, but the industry will change. It will adapt, as we do, because we are resilient and super talented, and that's just the case. And I've said to them that by the time that they're sort of out and things have picked up, they'll be so ahead of the way that the industry's adapted. So if anything, they might be in a really great position, because they're like, the industry's changed, it's adapted, they'll be on top of it. They'll know what's going on, they'll know how things are working, things like self-taping and doing stuff online. Whereas it's us not going, oh gosh, everything's changing, what do we do?
Well, self-taping is kind of a relatively new thing for auditions, isn't it? And probably not something, I don't know, was that something you were taught when you were training? Is that common sense? No. So that they're kind of in a good place from that point of view, aren't they? Sort of getting training in online ways of doing things. Yeah.
And also, I said to them, it doesn't stop you kind of thinking and finding new ways of working.
Yeah. Just as a final thing, then, thinking about what you were saying about, you mentioned the inviable, or rather, we are viable. What are some of the transferable skills? Because we were talking about artists being flexible and adaptable anyway, and we do always have so many hats at the same time. What are some of the things that you would say are the kind of transferable skills that are really useful?
So this is one I get really cross about, even when you take it just down to the basics of teaching drama in schools, within mainstream education. It's not about creating tons and tons of actors at that level. It's about teaching children how to communicate, how to address people, how to be confident, to feel some self-worth, to discover things, to research, how to understand, particularly when they're younger, looking at emotional intelligence, and then you transfer that into all sorts of industries and careers. It's so important. It drives me insane.
Well, all of those things are going to be beneficial in pretty much any career you might go into, aren't they?
That some children don't naturally have, that needs to be developed so that they feel confident.
Yeah. Oh, well. It's very nice actually to hear you saying earlier that you are always looking for the positives and looking for ways to adapt and change, because I think you're absolutely right, and we have to just kind of say, this is how things are right now, how can we make something work, and kind of build on it. So that's actually very reassuring.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's been really lovely to chat to you. We're pretty much out of time, but thank you so much for joining us. And if people want to keep in touch, kind of find out what you're doing and stuff, what you've got a couple of ways for them to do that, haven't you?
Yes, so I'm on Twitter, Cassie Compton, Cassie no E, Cassie Compton, and then I have my YouTube channel as well, which is Cassie Compton Live on YouTube. I do have an Instagram account, but I can't remember what the name is. There you go. But no, it's been lovely to talk to you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, that's such a pleasure. And give us a shout, next time you're at the Library Hub or something, or if you've got something to promote, we'd love to have you back. So give us a shout. Cool.
Thanks.
Well, just before we finish, I've got a few notices. So actually following on from what we were just saying about the importance of drama for children and all the other skills that you learn by doing it. If anybody watching has kids and would like something to do for half term, we have at the Library Hub a children's drama camp, which is Monday the 19th of October to Thursday the 22nd. So I think that off the top of my head, that's next week. Yes. It's 4 full days, and children will have the opportunity to discover new skills, techniques, and learn about music and drama as they spend the autumn holidays having fun, creating and exploring this magical time of the year. And so as in Halloween and autumn, I think. And then following on from that, we also have a family Halloween spooktacular, which is another West End at the Library concert. And that is going to be streaming live through the Upper Norwood Library Hub Facebook page, Saturday the 31st of October from 5:45, and it's featuring Halloween songs from classics such as Wicked, The Addams Family musical, Sweeney Todd, The Rocky Horror Show, and Witches of Eastwick, just to name a few. This is very much family friendly. It's free, although donations would be very much appreciated. So please do stick that in your diary and come join us online for that. We are still very much looking for people to come and jump in on our All Alone Together project. This is Arts Council funded oral history project. So we're creating, well, 2 things. Firstly, we are researching the impact of COVID-19 on our local community. We can't do that without people telling us what the impact has been. So there's a very, very short survey on our website. We'd really appreciate it if you fill it in. There's just 4 questions. You can write 1 word for each answer, but it will still be really helpful. Obviously, if you want to write as an essay, that's also very helpful. And then the second part of that is that we are creating a podcast series of members of the local community talking about their experiences in their own words, in their own voices. And if you'd be up for doing that, there is a box to tick on the questionnaire on the website, which says you'd be up for being interviewed, in which case I'd love to interview you. They take about an hour, and then we take short sections out of that to create a kind of 10-15 minute podcast. So please do get involved in that. We've only got a couple of weeks left, maybe less now, to do this. So we'd really love to hear from you. Please fill in the survey. It will take you about 5 minutes. And then Croydon Live are doing a call out for creatives. They're commissioning 3 family friendly theatre pieces from Croydon based companies of family friendly theatre. So this is a paid opportunity for people living in the borough of Croydon. And if you'd like to be considered for a commission, you need to email your expression of interest to the producers, JLA Productions, and Rin will put the email address in the social media feed now, I'm sure. And then 2 final things. One is the Big Energy Saving Network. This is something the Upper Norwood Library Hub runs. It is free advice on your energy company if you should maybe switch, how to do that, other things like advice about your boiler, and all sorts of things along those lines. So if you have any questions about energy and you don't want to go to your energy company, or you want some impartial free advice, please do check this out through the Upper Norwood Library Hub. And finally, We have English classes at the Library Hub as well. They're a series of tutor-led classes aimed at improving learners' confidence in speaking English. So for people for whom English is a second language. It started at the end of September, but you can still join now. There are 2 weekly online classes for beginners and for those at intermediate or improver level, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and there's a one-off fee of £30 for the whole year. You can attend weekly classes until next July, just with breaks at Christmas and Easter. That is an amazing deal. So if you're looking to improve your English, or you know somebody who is, please do tell them, pass this on, and get them to get in touch. That's it from us for today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, midday, with the next library lunch. In the meantime, Cassie, so lovely to chat to you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.